Yo ho ho, Dom Mafia. Welcome to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. That is right, we are going to be ranking the top 10 teams in the NFL during week 6 today, and I'm super pumped to get into this. Say that you're new here, my name is Dan Mitchell, and I regularly put out videos on the NFL and more specifically, the Buffalo Bills. If that is your cup of tea, I highly recommend subscribing to this channel so you never miss a video. And while you're at it, do me a favor, smash the ever-living out of that like button. It sincerely helps out my channel. And so right before we dive into the top 10, here's a brief word from today's sponsor.
Oh brother, Dan with another advertisement. And I'm willing to bet that he's getting paid for this too.
You're damn right. You think this is? Well, luckily today's sponsor just so happens to be MyBookie, something that I am a regular user of. If you have no idea what MyBookie is, it is the #1 online sportsbook across the entire internet. It is my go-to place for any type of parlay, spread, money line, and over-under bets, and much more. This football season, if you are looking for an online sportsbook, look no further than MyBookie. And so what makes it better is that MyBookie is also hooking up the Don Mafia with matching your very first deposit up to $1,000 as long as you put in the code DM. So you know, like the letters DM. Used in a sentence would be, why is your mother in my DMs? So whatever you're doing, it's time to put your money where your mouth is. If you really know what you're talking about with football, you might as well make some money off it, and MyBookie is the place to do it. So whatever you're doing, hit that link in my description, and let's start making some money. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure about y'all, but I sincerely hope that you are as satisfied with your team as I most certainly was this past Sunday. While watching various plays off of Red Zone, doing my research, I ended up compiling this top 10 list right here. It probably could be pretty similar to yours, but as always, if you agree or disagree with me, please feel free to leave it in the comments. Starting off hot, number 10, nobody ever would have thought that this could have been a possibility, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, there's no question that the Kansas City Chiefs, without a doubt, struggled tremendously against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. In fact, we are probably looking at one of the worst statistic defenses that we have seen in a very long time. And it doesn't just stop on the stat sheet. If you legitimately go back and just see some highlights, specifically with some passes that Josh Allen was able to throw to his playmakers, a lot of those fools had so much real estate, they could have built a house prior to that DB even getting in the vicinity. There seems to be a lot of issues, not only with their secondary, because teams are legitimately carving this team up. Their offense is still great. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL at the helm, right? The issue is that you can't rely on Patrick Mahomes putting up 40 to 50 points on a regular basis. It's simply just not sustainable. And so especially once you put into consideration that really all they have consistently is Travis Kelce, and same thing with Tyreek Hill. What the Bills did to the Kansas City Chiefs is they specifically flooded as many passing lanes as possible by sometimes even dropping 8, completely limiting Patrick Mahomes' chances of even making the game close. I have a feeling that defenses are going to be ripping a page out of the Bills book and then also the Tampa Bay Buccaneers book from last year. The Chiefs really need to get their defense on hold, but the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I still have a feeling that they're going to make the playoffs, but I think a team that's on this list as well is going to beat them out for the division, but I digress. Number 9, the Cleveland Browns. And so right now they're sitting at 3-2, but if you did not watch that game against the Chargers, it was an absolute thriller. Although the Cleveland Browns ended up losing against the Chargers at this point, they were still very impressive. You cannot go against that run game. That run game is absolutely sick. Their defense, I mean, I suppose last week was not the best example of their defense, but they still have a lot of potential. When they're on, they are on. It's a fantastic team. The Chargers were just a better team on that Sunday by itself, but I still have full confidence that the Cleveland Browns are going to be walking into the playoffs, and at this point, I see them sitting at number 9. So next up is the Los Angeles Rams, currently sitting at 4-1. The big story here was Robert Woods, their number 1 receiver on that team. Him and Matt Stafford had a very difficult time establishing chemistry going into the season, except for this most previous game. Woods absolutely ended up going off. Stafford continues to prove that he should have been off the Detroit Lions a long time ago. He clearly has winning in his DNA. He was the perfect piece to be put into the LA Rams, and they were just very impressive against the Seahawks. Granted, it was not played with Russell Wilson. I was still very impressed with this overall game. I think the Rams are going to be a threat and definitely a team to watch. Next up, the Baltimore Ravens. Speaking of electric games, the Monday night game between the Colts and the Ravens was absolutely insane. Now listen, a lot of people, they love talking shit about Lamar, that he cannot throw whatsoever. Dude, man, is currently top 5 in the league for overall passing yards. Legitimately just shitting on all of the critics that ever gave him a hard time about his overall arm talent. He put that on pure display last night, throwing for over 300 yards. Looking completely flawless out there. When I look at the Ravens and what they've been able to do after legitimately going through like 6 of their starting running backs, and then now they're relying on Lamar to actually put the team on his damn back, their defense is still very good, still underrated. Not a lot of people talk about it. I think that the Ravens are still a very, very good team, and I think it's going to be neck and neck between them and the Browns for winning this division when it comes down to it. So Ravens, you're currently sitting at number 7. And so next up at number 6 is going to be the Green Bay Packers, sitting at 4-1. I mean, when you end up looking at this team, it seemed like that first performance from Aaron Rodgers was clearly just a fluke. Their offense seems to be completely fine. Their defense is getting it done. While Mason Crosby, who has been a hero in Green Bay in the past, he is getting up there in age, and he put that on full display against the game this past Sunday, where once it ended up getting into overtime, he was just missing field goals left and right, but he did end up getting them the game winner. And it's definitely looking like the Packers are the Packers at this point, seeming to be a shoo-in for their own division. I think they might need to be a little worried about the whole Crosby situation, especially since several of their games so far this year have been the furthest thing from a blowout, and a lot of the times they're going to be turning to him in order to make that game winning score. So as of right now, I have the Green Bay Packers sitting at number 6. Next up, sitting at number 5, the LA Chargers. Holy shit, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you what, that if you were to tell me that the Chargers would be on top of their division right now, sitting at 4-1 at the beginning of the season, I would have called you crazy. I thought the Chiefs legitimately would have been sitting on top of the division like usual, but Justin Herbert has probably had one of the most impressive second years I have seen out of a quarterback in a very, very long time. This kid is something special, and Miami Dolphins fans legitimately should be kicking themselves in the ass that they passed on him for Tua. This kid is very special, and he's working with, I would say, some pretty modest weapons outside of Keenan Allen. I mean, dude is legitimately doing what he can. Of course, Austin Eckler, who's finally stayed healthy so far this year. Their defense has still been tremendous. I mean, minus, this past Sunday when they gave up 42 against the Browns. But overall, man, I mean, I'm seeing the Chargers legitimately remaining consistent, and I'm going to call it right now. I see them winning the AFC West, and I wouldn't be surprised if they are the 2nd or 3rd seed in the playoffs. Number 4, the Dallas Cowboys. I know, listen, like I said during last week's episode of Power Rankings, so many people are probably pissed that the Cowboys are doing good because they've become such like the butt of the joke in the NFL for the past couple of years, specifically within the meme community. This team's looking damn good, okay? I have not seen a bad game that they have played all year. That's including that Week 1 loss against Tampa Bay. They kept it damn close. This offense is completely steamrolling all of their opponents, regardless of what defense that they go up against. And the biggest surprise, their defense. Their defense has been remarkable, especially when it comes down to Trevon Diggs, who has had an interception in every single game so far this season. It really looks like that their front office hit on that player. Their secondary is doing well. Their linebackers are doing great. They're getting pressure on the quarterback. This team looks entirely different from the team that we saw last year, and they're sitting at number 4. Next up, number 3, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, honestly, Tom Brady is Tom Brady. He ended up throwing for over 400 yards, but how can you not when you have such a star-studded wide receiver core and offense as a whole? This is probably like the best built team to protect Tom Brady, I would have to say, from giving him the most elite weapons in the face of the planet, and then also giving him a pretty formidable offensive line for the most part. He threw for over 400 yards. That Antonio Brown sort of pass was completely bonkers, especially with seeing how fast this dude can still move, although he's north of 32 at this point. This team's going to be a threat. They're always going to be a threat. Yes, they did drop that one. However, I see only a couple more losses on their schedule. Number 2, the Arizona Cardinals. Now, one thing I will say is between number 1 and number 2, it was a toss-up. It really, really was. But at the end of the day, I have a feeling that these two teams are going to be meeting each other this season in the Super Bowl. I really, really do. It could go either way. Both of these teams are absolutely insane. But it seems like Kyler Murray right now is definitely in the conversation for MVP. Dare I say, even the front runner. I mean, this kid is just really going out there and showing why they ended up drafting him. Their defense was amazing. They ended up holding San Francisco to 10 points. Granted, they were facing a rookie in Trey Lance. The defense is very scary in the front seven, and their secondary is slept on tremendously. Very good all-around team. Barring any injury, there is no excuse why I don't see the Arizona Cardinals winning this division this year. Number 1, the Buffalo Bills. Now listen, ladies and gentlemen, let me put this out there. I'm fully aware that I am a Buffalo Bills fan, but anytime I do these rankings, I try to keep it as non-biased as possible. But at the end of the day, the stat book does not lie. The Buffalo Bills are currently the number 1 scoring offense in the entire league and the number 1 scoring defense in the entire league. If you're talking about a team that is firing on all cylinders, you have to look at this team at this point. The Buffalo Bills, since week 1, they haven't just been beating their opponents, they have been kicking the ever-living shit out of their opponents. And, you know, week 2, week 3, week 4, so many people are going to be like, oh, well, look who you played. We ended up playing the Kansas City Chiefs, probably one of the most dynamic offenses in the entire league, and we held them to 20 points. Josh Allen is an animal. The rest of our team is absolutely completely blowing up. And so Stephon Diggs really even hasn't had a huge game right now. Josh Allen is completely evenly distributing the ball across the field. And a lot of names from last year who weren't very large contributors are starting to contribute now, such as Dawson Knox, our run game finally, and then our defense. Back to 2019. Regardless, right now, I have the Bills sitting at number 1 as the best team in football going into week 6. So, Dom Mafia, do me a favor, leave a comment. Give me your rankings. I'm really curious to see where you are at. And then, of course, leave any additional thoughts you might have. Drop them in the comments section. Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. Smash that like button if you haven't already. And before I let you go, you better always remember, let's go Buffalo.